good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. First things first, if you're watching this video, go ahead and drop a sub, drop a like, and drop a comment as well. Now, you are currently looking at two-time classic physique Mr. Olympia Chris Bumstead. And Chris might have broke the internet in all honesty, man. Look at this. Just look at this, man. This is looking like 70s, 80s classic physique, but with way more mass, man. Honestly, when I saw this photo, I sent it to my homeboy and said, "Who do you think is getting second this year?" This is honestly ridiculous. It's like Chris is in a lane of his own, and everyone else is still trying to catch up to last year's version of Chris Bumstead, and Chris looks like he's gonna improve on that and come in even better this year, which is crazy to think because Chris made so many improvements from his first title to his second title. Many people weren't thinking he wasn't going to be able to prove anymore. Now, I'm going to put up this photo that Matt Jansen posted, which is a comparison between Chris Bumstead and six-time Mr. Olympia Dorian Yates. I'm not going to comment on this photo at all. I'm just going to sit it here, let you guys look at the comparison, think how you want to think about it. But can anyone beat Chris Bumstead? Now, one of the main people that comes to mind is Breon Jones. A lot of people are talking about Robert Timms, but I don't think he has the legs to stand with Chris Bumstead yet. But Breon Jones definitely could. I haven't put him up on the channel yet because I actually just learned how to spell his name right. I was using Brian with the I instead of Brian with the Y. But he's definitely a threat. He placed top 5 at last year's Mr. Olympia, which was his first Mr. Olympia. But the knock that a lot of people have on him is he doesn't have a lot of separation in his quads, as you can see. His quads are very big and vascular, but he doesn't have the separation, and he also doesn't have the best calves. Now, you won't get knocked for calves, but if the next guy has amazing calves, then it's kind of how it is. But it's looking like C-Bum is getting ready to win his third title. Keeping it classic, we're going to go ahead and switch over to Breon Ansley, a two-time classic physique Mr. Olympia as well. And I'm pretty sure, like I've mentioned plenty of times before, no one thinks Breon can win, probably outside of him, his camp, and me. But this is actually a great update from Breon. He looks refreshed, he looks full, he looks energized. In his past update, he looked a little bit tired, like he's pushing very hard pretty early. Like looking at Chris looks big and crazy, but he doesn't look tired or drained. Breon looked kind of drained in his past update, so that's why I'm posting this one, because it's actually a great one and has me more motivated for Breon to try to come in and take that title. Now, if Breon brings the package that he brought last year, then of course he's not going to be able to beat Chris Bumstead. He's going to have to come in at his best to beat Chris, but if he comes in undeniable, Breon Ansley can win the title. Chris Bumstead can be beat. Now, it is very unlikely that he will be beat, but and in our next update, we get to take another look at Reagan Grimes. And in his last update, I wasn't sure if Regan had put on enough size to be able to compete. But in this update, it's looking like Regan has actually put on a decent amount of size this offseason, and he may be able to get into that top 10 this year. Now, I don't want to have too high hopes for Regan, because I'm going to have to see him on stage in the comparisons, of course. And Regan is a taller guy, so he has to fill out his frame and actually be heavier just to be comparable to shorter guys. But Regan has a very clean, very aesthetic physique, and he has every body part that he needs. He's definitely could be a future Mr. Olympia. Only thing Regan has to do is put on enough size. So I'm excited to see how he will match up at this year's Mr. Olympia. Not too many people talk about Regan either, but I mean, he placed 15th in last year's Mr. Olympia. So, but that does mean he's the 15th best bodybuilder in the world for that year. But we'll see what Regan brings to the stage this year. In our next update, we're going to take a look at Hadi Choopan. And as a disclaimer, with Hadi, as always, I'm not sure if this is recent, but we're going to take it for what it is, and we're going to say it is recent. And Hadi looks huge, man. This is going to be a very exciting Mr. Olympia. Now, I'm not going to lie. Getting into this, I've noticed that when you're doing smaller pro shows, it's easier to place guys. But when you have a lot of veterans and a lot of high-level athletes in the show, it's very hard to place them, because placing certain athletes like placing Regan Grimes at 15th is just, it sounds outrageous, but that's what happens at like the Olympia and the Arnold Classic and these stacked lineups. But it's just so hard to place great athletes low. So it's going to be hard for me to put together a prediction video for the Mr. Olympia as well. That's why I'm not going to speak around too much now where Hadi would place. But Hadi looks huge, man, and this is going to be a great Olympia. All right, and in our next update, we have a pair of photos from Nick Walker, and it looks like Nick already has striated glutes at about 4 to 5 weeks out of the Arnold Classic, man. Some guys are about to be in trouble. There are a couple of guys who don't even have striated glutes on stage and have trouble getting into shape. Nick is in better shape than some people are on stage at 4 weeks out. So just let this sink in. I'm not worried about Nick coming in shape, but I'm actually very excited to see where he stacks up against the top guys. There's a lot of opinions about Nick, from very high opinions to very low opinions. I hate the low opinions on Nick because I feel like most of them come from he just has such a strong attitude. They kind of feel like he's cocky, but he's actually just very confident in himself. And as I've mentioned, Jay Cutler had to be confident in himself sitting behind Ronnie all those years to finally win. I know a lot of people told Jay, hey man, you're never gonna be running. And hey, look, he be running. Like, it's kind of the same way I feel about now. No one thinks Breon can beat Chris Bumstead, but hey, no one thought Jay could be running. But it's my little rant. Had to throw Breon in the mix somehow. And in our next update, we get kind of a montage from Derek Lunsford. It's just an Instagram preview of a back training video that he posted on his YouTube. You guys should go check that out. And of course, I had to put this up in a video because Derek is one of my favorite athletes going into the 212 Mr. Olympia. And I'm hoping that he's able to nail it this year working with Honey Rambod and able to come in and win that title this year. If you guys don't know, Honey Rambod is the coach of Hadi Choopan, Andre Du, who's a men's physique competitor, and also the coach of Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia. So Derek is definitely in good hands, and hopefully he's able to reach his potential this year. In our last story of the day, we're going to look at James Hollingshead, who's just getting some posing in. Looks like he's working with a guy that's pretty good. And posing can make or break you on stage. Actually, bad posing can make you look worse. It can make you look smaller. So I'm glad that James is getting work in. And it's actually great to see someone at his size being able to move and pose like this. I'm pretty sure James is around at least 280, 290 pounds. I know he's 300 in the off season, but getting in shape for the Olympia, he should be a little smaller now. So just decided to put this in a video because you guys know I love posing. But this is going to be the video for today, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Chris Bumstead breaking the internet, man. It's going to be a good Arnold. It's going to be a good Olympia. Like, comment, sub. If you made it this far, put GOAT Gang 2 times in the comment section. I'm out.